up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And for today's video, man, I wanted to go ahead and do one of the requests that I got from you guys in the comments, and that is to do a review on Kingpin. And where do I begin, guys? Where do I begin? Like, when I first started playing this game, guys, this guy right here was actually a really big part of the meta. He was very, very useful. However, since then, he's taking a really steep plummet, and he's actually, I wouldn't say at the bottom, but he's pretty close, okay? And the reason why it was so useful back in the day, guys, is because he was one of the very few characters in the combat class. Actually, he was the only character in the combat class that was actually able to clear Alliance battle, and he was actually one of the very first characters that was a world boss clearer. I wouldn't say he was a world boss killer, but he was able to clear it with some good gameplay and a decent build, right? When World Boss first came out, I'm talking normal World Boss here, guys, he was one of the very first characters, along with Loki, who was able to clear it. And the main reason for that is his 5 skill, Criminal Mastermind. Like you guys can see right here, it gives him clones or summons, illusions, minions, whatever term you want to use, similar to Loki, and that's what made him very popular. However, unlike Loki, his was a little bit better. Even though they deal less damage, they're a little bit better than Loki's because they actually pull aggro when you put him in World Boss, so you don't have to kite as much as you would with Loki because the boss is not going to be chasing you, right? He's still going to be decent for World Boss. However, in the combat class, there's a way better options right now that are pretty easy to attain, so he's taking a big hit right there. Another part of why he was so useful back in those days, guys, is because he had a uniform that allowed him to be a blast type. This uniform right here that everyone refers to as blast pin, mainly because it changes him from being a combat type to a blast type, which back in those days was very useful for, again, Alliance battle. Because Alliance battle, we did not have any characters that could use summons, and we struggled like crazy in order to clear Blast Day. So he was the guy for Blast Day and Combat Day, so that was what was pushing him to be such an amazing character back in those days. Now we have way better options that can clear it, so he's slowly moving to the bottom because his overall kit is not very good. His damage as a whole is pretty low. Even his clones don't really do that much damage, right? He's a year 1 character with a year 1 build. Right now, where he's at, I would say he's a Shadowland character. He's a Conquest okay character if you have him built pretty decently, and he can clear World Boss for you because he's a little bit easier to play than just using your regular character where the boss is coming straight at you. Because you have the summons to use as a distraction, you can toss them there, they can be your pawns, they can take the hits for you, you can run away and hide and keep doing that, and you can get yourself a win if you have him built up pretty well, right? This skill right here is his bread and his butter, because apart from that, there is only this stun right here, which does not get applied to World Bosses. It's only going to be useful to you in game modes like Shadowland and Conquest. So yeah, he doesn't have a guard like Loki, and the majority of his skills, they're pretty slow, and it brings him in very close to the opponent. So while he's trying to deal damage, he's going to be wide open to taking damage himself because he doesn't have any damage block, he doesn't have any iframes. So pretty risky business with Kingpin. His 4-star passive is a pretty decent passive. I'm always a big fan of when we get past 4-star passives that increases your attack. 5% is alright. I would have liked for his tier 2 passive to up that to 10% because his base damage is pretty low. His tier 2 passive as a whole, I'm going to say it definitely needs work. Like, the summons should be getting like 30% of his stats because his stats are pretty low, to be honest with you guys. And the damage received reduced is nice because he doesn't have any iframes, no damage block, no guard, no nothing. But even this 20% right here is still not enough because he's very slow and his skills put him in harm's way, right? Like, he's literally charging in just like Kingpin would. However, I feel like Kingpin needs more than just 20%, or he needs a guard, or he needs a few seconds of damage immunity. His leadership does help give him some more survivability. So for me, when I built my Kingpin, I went with that in mind. I was thinking about keeping him alive for as long as possible in order to get the job done. So I went with a recovery ISO set for him because I was building him mainly for Alliance battle, right? However, this right here is an old, really old ISO set. If you're building him now and you want to make sure he stays alive, go with drastic density or binary power, one of those two. I don't think an offensive ISO set is a good idea for Kingpin. And the main reason for that is, guys, because the clones do the majority of the work. If you try to fight it out with Kingpin without relying very heavily on your clones, you're going to find that he dies really quickly. Keep that in mind, okay? Even with this uniform right here, which is not going to be something that I'm going to suggest you buy, because I only own it because I bought it really long time ago when I needed him as my guy for Blast Day, okay? I have it, but I'm going to tell you guys, do not buy it, because 10% chance to get a physical shield for 20% of his max HP for 10 seconds. That seems nice, but I would have liked this to be a full max HP shield and not just a physical HP shield, okay? This is pretty terrible. However, if you like using Kingpin, go ahead and get this uniform, but I'm going to tell you that this uniform is extremely old, outdated, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a new one pretty soon. So hold out for that, because that's exactly what I'm doing, okay? However, guys, with this uniform, I'm able to use him to solo a few floors in Shadowland. Specifically, floor 21 against Venom. I can solo that floor with him in this uniform because it changes him to being a blast type. And that gives me the advantage against Venom. And he gets a few energy attacks, which will make it so that he deals a little bit more damage to those characters because they have lower energy defense natively, right? I can also use him to clear floor 24 against Luke Cage. However, you need a leadership. Well, at least I need a leadership in order to pull that off, okay? Maybe your Kingpin is built better. Maybe you don't need a leadership because you have really good cards. But for me, those are solos that I can pull off with him only if I have a leadership. He's also pretty decent for the Destroyer bosses and a few of the early speed relay stages, right? He's good for those, but apart from that, guys, he's not really good for much else. But 4 different solos in Shadowland is not necessarily a bad thing, which is why I don't put him at the bottom of the combat class, okay? Definitely still relevant, but considering he's coming from the top, that's a pretty far fall from grace, to be honest with you guys. But then again, there is Ant-Man, so when you look at it that way, I guess he doesn't look too bad, right? As for his native gears, guys, his native gears are pretty good. He gets physical attack and crit rate. You want to roll it similar to what I have here. Physical per level for the first 2, all attack and physical attack for the remaining slot, right? Second one right here, I get physical, defense, and dodge. Not a fan of both slots. To be honest with you guys, you want all defense right here. And dodge, I never care for dodge. You guys are going to hear that repeatedly on this channel, okay? Dodge is a useless stat to me. Like, don't care for it. Ideally, I would go for energy per level right here. But I got green stats for all defensives, so I just left it, to be honest with you guys, and just kept it moving. And I haven't gone back to change it since I don't use Kingpin very often anymore, right? Maybe if he gets a better tier 2 passive later on the road, or he gets reworked because God knows he needs it, then I'll think about using him again. Crit damage and HP is really nice here. However, I would have liked it if the roles were reversed and HP was in the first slot, so I was getting more HP because his survivability is very questionable. Like I said, no iframes, no damage block, no guard, so he definitely has trouble surviving, especially in Shadowland where the summons don't pull aggro. However, since you're getting multiple summons, 5 if I remember correctly, since I haven't used them in a while, they will do a good job of encircling the enemy and making it very hard for them to get to you. So that will take a little bit of the damage away from you because you can use them as damage sponges. So you want to roll HP per level for the first 2 right here and an HP for the remaining slots, okay? Next slot right here, he gets ignore defense and skill cooldown. Very good slot. Very good slot. I can't argue with anything here. I roll for ignore defense in order to get as much as I possibly could. For you guys, you might need to roll skill cooldown here if you don't have any coming from your cards. Or maybe a little bit of attack speed. That is up to you, right? As for his obelisk, guys, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, get something similar to what I have here, man. You want to get max HP and invincibility. And the reason for that is because his survivability is questionable. You want to keep him alive as long as possible and let the clones do the majority of the work. So in order to have his summons do their thing, prioritizing your survivability is going to be key for right now. Maybe if his actual skills, not the summons, his actual skills get a bump in their damage, then you can probably think about something with a damage proc. But until then, I'm going to say prioritize keeping this guy alive by pretty much all means necessary, right? So that's why I went ahead and got max HP here in order to capitalize on the fact that he gets 30% coming from his leadership. I wanted to give him some more on the obelisk and then give him some invincibility for those really drawn out fights, okay? Immunity to stun here is nice, but it's not necessarily needed. You probably should go ahead and get your ignore defense maxed out. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how my details page look right here, because this is something that I often leave out of the video and I'm really sorry, I just get distracted sometimes. So as you guys can see, 36% on the skill cooldown, crit damage 152%. I'm missing 19% on the ignore defense, so that is going to be a noticeable drop in damage. Believe it or not, guys, ignore defense is actually really useful. And as you guys can see, I have no attack speed. A little bit of attack speed will actually help you, so think about getting some of that, and some more crit rate definitely will help, okay? So for this video, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys a Shadowland solo with him, and this one is just gonna be floor 1, but like I said, he's capable of more than this. He can definitely solo against Destroyer, he can definitely solo against Venom and Luke Cage if you have him with the uniform and use a leadership. Like I said, you might not need a leadership if yours is built really well, but mine, I definitely need a leadership in order to pull off those last two, okay? Destroyer, I don't necessarily need a leadership, but I use the uniform when I use him there just for shits and giggles. I'm looking for him in the blast because I generally have him with the uniform on, okay? But you asked for a Kingpin review, so I wanted to review just Kingpin, not Blast Pin. Let's do this. Alright, let's do this. Now remember, guys, the clones are the way to go. They don't pull aggro, but because there's quite a few of them, they're going to be decent in order to lock down the enemy and make your fight a little bit easier. It's not going to be easy. It definitely won't be pretty, but you can get it done. The uniform would be slightly beneficial here only because it would give you the HP shield, but however it would change him to a blast type, and that would make it so that you have no damage. So it would give boost your survivability but cut your individual damage in like half or non-existent, to be honest. But there you have it, guys. He cleared it in a minute, but I almost died. Well, I guess I shouldn't say I almost died because I knew I had the invincibility, so that would pull me through. However, like I said, guys, not a top tier character anymore. There's still things he can do. So if you like the Kingpin, go ahead and try out this build. And yeah, man, I hope it works for you guys. Let me know what you guys think about this guy in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. And I'm out, boys.